Good morning, it's Doug from Vermont Hoyas, and welcome to a little tutorial with using Lechuza Pon. This is something that's widely used, this substrate in Europe, and I finally was able to get my hands on some of it, so I've started experimenting with it, and so far the results have been sort of mixed, but it seems to work very well for moisture loving species, and I think it would work well for a lot of other species too if you could just get the watering correct. Let's take a look at this stuff. It comes in a giant bucket. This is the most economical way to purchase it, and it was extremely heavy. The niftiest thing about this is it comes with its own little scoop here, which I think is pretty cool. You can see this stuff is probably about eighth inch in diameter. It's small. It also has a built-in fertilizer with it, so you're not supposed to fertilize this for about 6 months after using it. It's supposed to be a complete plant substrate. Now you can see these are 3 plants here that are going to do very well in it. You can see this Hoya Lockeye has put on massive growth since it's been in here, and I'm using it with a self-watering pot with a water gauge. Now you have to watch these water gauges because a lot of times they just get stuck and they quit functioning. So but what is good about it is you can pull these things out and you can use it sort of as a dipstick, like it was oil in your car, and you can see if there's water on the bottom of it. So even if the gauge itself doesn't work that well, there's a little styrofoam floating there, and sometimes it gets gunked up and stuck. So you can't always rely on it, but if you pull this out and look at it, you can see whether it needs water or not. And this is Hoya mirabilis, and this was put in here very recently, and there's, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a ton of new growth. I expect this plant to do extremely well in there because I've grown it in semi-hydro before with great results. So I'll bring this plant back once it's covered the trellis, and I'm sure it will. This plant here, Hoya papashonii, these are some seedlings. I just barely planted that in there this morning. This is another moisture loving species that I'm sure is going to do great. Some of the other plants I've tried using this method, haven't had that great of luck because I think I've overwatered it. You have to be very careful to only water this when it's dry, which is sometimes difficult to tell. Even when that water gauge goes all the way to the bottom, many of the times the substrate is still too damp to water. So you have to really wait to water some of these. But the moisture loving species like these, you can't really go wrong with it. So I do like the looks of these pots. I like the color. These pots were purchased on Amazon. They're imitation Lechuza pots because Lechuza pots are extremely expensive. But I doubt they're made much better than the pots that I'm using. So that's about all I have to say. I just thought I would share this as another experiment. I'm continuing to experiment with different mediums, and this is Lechuza Pon. So thank you for taking the time, and I'll be back really soon with more great Hoya growing tips and great Hoyas.